So, is cold calling still a legitimate way for real estate agents today in 2020 to generate business? Or with all the new technology, has it just become more of an outdated prospecting channel? Well, I think if you can strategically understand how to use cold calling in your business, it is still an extremely viable channel for both new agents and existing agents to generate amazing seller leads that they might have just not had access to otherwise. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what you need to understand about cold calling, the strategy behind it, and the things you must do to convert the leads from leads into clients. What's going on, guys? My name is Lior, and I'm a team leader with Compass out of Boston. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing this video about cold calling and how to strategically use it to grow your business. Now, I'll be honest, the reason why I did this video is because when I first started 4 years ago as a real estate agent, I just did not really know how to grow my business, right? I was thinking about what can I do to get a consistent pipeline of leads. And at that time, I was 23 years old, right? I was a year and a half out of college, and I didn't really have a network, right? It's not like I knew people, a ton of people all over the area. My friends at that time were all in their early 20s, and they were all just, either renting or not even considering really buying houses or anything. So I needed a way to figure out how to generate leads on a consistent basis. And I will say this as well. I am by no means a salesperson, right? I was a science major in college. I only focused on science and math. So it's not like I had this insane outbound personality where I felt super comfortable going out and crushing the dialer and talking to strangers on the phone. No, it was completely the opposite. But as the more I thought about it, I realized that cold calling just would be a great channel to be able to talk to new potential leads, especially on the listing side, because I really wanted to grow my business starting from sellers, and I knew that would eventually also bleed out into buyers. So that's why I hit cold calling super hard when I first started. And what I did was I went after two channels, right? And you're probably familiar with this if you've done any cold calling yourself. I went after one channel was the FSBOs and expireds, right? And the nice thing about FSBOs and expireds is you had a ton of leads and you knew that they were motivated leads, right? Because FSBOs were obviously already trying to sell their house, whereas expireds had previously attempted to sell their house. And for whatever reason, whether it was an agent, a price issue, whatever, they just could not get it done. But I knew there was some level of motivation. And then the other type of lead I started calling to was the circle prospecting leads, as they're called in real estate. And basically what I did was I took a listing that either I sold or someone in my office sold, and very simply just called around the neighborhood, right? Just called cold owners and said, hey, my name's Lior. I just sold a listing right around the corner from you. We had 5 offers. Have you thought about selling yourself? And a lot of the times they'd say no, but once in a while they'd say, you know what, we potentially thought about it. Why don't you keep in touch with us? So a lot of agents do try to hit those channels, but there are two things you can do as well to strategically filter down those leads so that you're calling more potential motivated leads and also leads that are not as competitive. So for FSBOs and expireds, as I said, guys, right, we know that a lot of new agents and a lot of brokerages have someone calling brand new expireds and brand new FSBOs every single day. So what I did is instead of calling those brand new FSBOs and expireds, I actually went back 2 and 3 years ago to the people that had expired their listings 2 or 3 years ago. They tried to sell it back then and couldn't. And the reason why I did that was because there's still probably some motivation for these guys, especially if it was 2 or 3 years ago. The market had gone up since then. So I knew I could at least talk to them and say, look, the market's increased since you last sold. If you could get more money this time around, is that something you would consider? And, so they were more potentially motivated. Plus, there wasn't as many agents calling those leads, right? Because as I said, most agents were calling the brand new leads, but not a lot of attention was going to those super old expireds. So I almost had them completely to myself. from a circle prospecting perspective, to make my list a little bit more filtered, what I quickly learned was that if I called super dense areas that had a lot of condos and that had a lot of maybe younger owners as well, that wouldn't necessarily work as well. So what I started doing more and more was going after neighborhoods that had more generational owners. So those were neighborhoods that had a lot of more single families, a lot more multi-families, and I started speaking to them because those are the families that have sat on their properties for 20, 30, 50 years, and they have probably super low mortgages. They have a ton of equity in their house. So it kind of makes sense for them to potentially think about cashing out, right? I mean, if you've got $1 million of equity sitting in the property, wouldn't you consider potentially selling? So those were the things I started to do to really narrow down my list. Avoid calling more competitive leads or leads that maybe weren't as motivated. And finally, this is really the secret sauce, as I call it. I did two things that really helped me become really good and generate these leads. Number one, and what I see most agents lacking on, is creating a consistent schedule behind this. So I talked to so many agents who have asked me, hey, I see you've had success with cold calling. How do I do it? And the issue they had, really simply, they're just not consistent. Right? They might only call once a week, or randomly they'll maybe call an hour or two when they have a random slot. And like any other prospecting activity, it just won't work, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's cold calling, videos, Instagram, Facebook. It doesn't matter. You got to do something. If you're going to do a prospecting channel, you got to hit it every single day. So what I did was I literally had a 2-hour slot blocked off on my calendar every single day, and I would hit the dialer, right? So it really became a matter of volume for me, right? So I think the issue is that a lot of you guys that are struggling with this is you don't have a consistent schedule where you have enough volume going through in calls to actually see the results. And then the second big thing that I see most people messing up on, and I can tell you because these clients have literally told me this, is the follow-up. Almost every time I go to a listing appointment from a cold calling lead, the first thing they would tell me is, you know what, I've had other calls from other agents, but you've called me so many times and you followed up with me so many times that I knew I just had to meet with you. I knew you're aggressive and I know you're going to get the job done. The majority of these appointments started off like that, and that's what they would tell me. So the point is, it's good to generate that lead, but then you need to also be consistent on your follow-up. So again, nothing really complicated here. All you have to do once you talk to a lead, chances are they're not going to be ready to meet that particular moment. You just got to keep in touch with them. So every couple of weeks, every month, I would just place a simple text or a simple call. Hey, John, how's it going? I know we talked a few months ago. You were thinking about potentially selling the house. Is that something you're potentially interested in right now? And if not, great, no worries. I'll call you another month just to check in. The market's been doing really well. And if yes, great, let's meet. So there's nothing super fancy in this strategy, but the consistent follow-up over a long period of time is really what separates the winners, the people that get the listings, from those that don't. So hopefully all of that makes sense, guys. If you have any questions or comments, shoot them below and I will help you out.